Hi everybody and welcome back to Art in a Bubble. This week we're looking at drawing objects that look three-dimensional, and we're doing this using line and some shading. See you soon. Now, if I was going to draw a picture of the dogs here, this is Stella and Aya, then once I put the picture down on paper, that image would be two-dimensional. What we're looking for today is how to make our pictures go from looking two-dimensional to having three-dimensional aspect to them. For today's lesson, you'll just need some paper, a sharp pencil, a rubber if you have one, and for our extension activity, some black marker pens. So today we're going to be looking at doing some different shapes. We're going to be looking at a sphere, a cube, a pyramid, a cone and a cylinder, and once you've mastered all these shapes, then it's going to be really good to be able to bring those into your drawing. This three-dimensional shape that we're going to draw is a sphere, and we're going to use a nice sharp pencil for that. Now, eventually you'll be able to do this freehand, but in the meantime, if you have trouble drawing circles, you can use something that has a roundness to it, like this cup, and you can just draw around the outside to give you that shape and finish it off. And there you'll see you have a circle. Now, really good to not draw too heavily onto the paper so that you can rub it out if you need to. Now we're going to do our shading, and we're going to imagine that our source of light is coming into our sphere this way, and we're going to start with some heavy shading. That means that I'm going to be putting more pressure on my pencil so that it's darker. And I'm just going to go around the opposite edge of where the light's coming from in that dark, heavy shading. So I finished my heavy shading there, and you'll see it's like a moon almost. I've curved it round and I've tapered it off as I've gotten to the edge. Just remembering that our light source is coming in from there. Now I'm going to continue shading. This time I'm going to use a medium pressure, and it's right next to where I've done my darker pressure, and I want to blend so that I'm slowly getting lighter and lighter the further I move away from that dark blending. I don't want a sudden line. I want a gradual lighter and lighter shading. Now I've done my medium shading. I'm just always looking to blend that in, and you'll see again I've gone in a curved shape. Now what I want to do is go even lighter and add in some very light pressured shading above that, just so you can only just see it. that I've spent a lot of time shading and blending and bringing the colour in from the edge being dark and then lighter in. So you can muck around with this for ages, just getting it really well blended. And I know some people, for example, get their finger in, and see how you can blend nicely with your finger. You're going to get a black looking finger, but it can really smooth that out, and I always like getting a finger in there and using that for blending. So with my pencil strokes, I started off doing the outline, but then I made sure that I also used pencil strokes coming in as well, which helps the object to look more rounded. And then on the light side, I've left the light there, which looks like the light's reflecting. Another wee hint is if you're not happy with something, the good thing about pencil is you can just get your rubber and remove some of the stuff if you're not fully happy with it. You can clean up an edge and give it a white, crisp look. There we go. Now, it doesn't look like mine on your first try. Don't worry, it does take quite a lot of practice to get these right, and it's just a matter of playing and trialing out things. The angle of your pencil to the paper, for example, if you're going straight on, you're going to get a much sharper shading. So if you want a nice smooth shading like this, try putting your pencil on the side. So just have a play. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect, just persevere, keep working with it, keep improving. That's what drawing's all about. The next shape that we're going to draw is a cube. And a cube just starts off with a normal square. So draw your square. And we know that squares have all sides equal length. Do your best. And then once we have our square, we go to the top corner and we draw a line out to the side. Then we go to the bottom corner on the same side and we're drawing another line, and we're trying to make it parallel to that. So the same kind of angle that you've got there, you're trying to get in your other line there. And then we finally do one more line, and again we're trying to get it on that same angle like that. Once we have our 3 lines, then we're going to connect them, and that becomes a side panel of our cube. And then we connect along there, and that becomes the top of our cube. Okay, so we've got our cube, and we're going to pretend that the light is coming again from this top corner looking down on our cube. Remember that heavy pressure shading that we just did before? We're going to do that on this side of the cube. So this whole side is going to be that heavy pressure. Front of our cube, because the light is coming this way, I want to have a medium shading on this side and slowly getting lighter as I head to that corner. So medium to very light. For the top of our cube, I'm just going to go light to no shading, because that's where our light source is mostly hitting. So I'll do a little bit of light shading over here, and then eventually to nothing. I might just give that a wee bit of a smooth out there, and then just clean up with my pencil to make sure that I do have that nice light look. To draw a pyramid, you just need to draw a triangle. And then once you've drawn the triangle, draw another line out to the side but slightly shorter than this one, and then join the two together. And then you're just shading in a very similar way. You're going to make this side dark with your dark pressure, remembering the light's coming in from here. You're going to do medium pressure down in this corner, light, and then nothing up here, so that it's just nice and white. And I'm going to draw the cone right next to the pyramid so that you can see how similar they are. You start off drawing a triangle just the way you did, but this time you're going to give it a little bit of a half circle along the bottom. So if you can imagine that being like a clown's hat. Goes around like that. So the shading with your cone is similar, that we have the dark on this side, and then we're going to slowly and gradually go to medium, light, and then completely white by the end. That we're trying to create a rounder shape with this one, I've not only used my pencil strokes going this way, I then started doing small curvature type shading marks as well, and then used my finger again to just smooth it out. If you don't want to use your finger, that's fine, you can just keep going using your pencil and trying to create that smooth shade. So the last shape that we're going to try and draw today is our cylinder. And the cylinder is another curved one like the cone, so we're going to try and get that roundness into it. And we start by drawing two lines next to each other, so that's parallel lines. And then we're going to join the lines at the bottom like we did with the cone, with a round line there, so that's going to make our cone curved. And then we're going to go up the top and we're going to do exactly the same line, curved line down again, try to make it look, whoops, similar. That's what rubbers are for, people. If you make a whoopsie. Here we go. Practice, practice. And then finally, to finish it off, we're doing a curved line up here for the top. And so you can use this shape for lots of things. Reminds me of a can of spaghetti or baked beans. Now the shading for the cylinder is very similar to this one, in that we're going to start dark on this edge and then slowly come around to light on this edge as we see the light source coming down. So this edge in the darker shade, medium, light, and then on top we'd probably start with medium, light, and then to a nice white colour there. Extra for experts is that you can add a shadow on the ground. Now, because the light source is coming in this way, the shadow is going to fall behind the object and across the ground. To do that, I'm going to follow the shape of the object, which in this case is round, but I'm going to, instead of doing a perfectly round circle, I'm going to do more of a shape like that. because objects are usually distorted. Their shadows are longer, and I'm not going to make it very dark. I'm just going to lightly shade because I don't want it to make my object look a bit strange, like it's got something growing off the side. And there's a bit of a shadow left. With my cube, I'm again bringing the shadow out to this side, but what I'm doing is I'm following the same shape again, so I'm extending beyond that bottom line out just with a light pencil. This line here, I'm extending that out, and then I want to keep that same angle that I've got there, so I'm going to bring that up there. That's the shape of the shadow. Then with a very light pencil, I'm going to start darker in by the shape, and then as I get out further from the shape, I'm going to get lighter and lighter. Like that. And the same for these three shapes. Take it from the bottom and the side. And then get lighter and lighter as you go out. The next part of this lesson is an extension. It's for people that want to take their drawing and their shading to another level. Today I'm going to be using some black ink pens, and they come in different sizes for the nib of the pen, ranging from 0.1mm to 0.8mm. We're going to be using stippling to do our shading instead of what we did before with our pencil. And this is a technique that is used in botanical drawing, and it's quite an old technique. It takes quite a bit of patience, but it's really effective in creating shading. So instead of with my pencil trying to find a flat edge and filling it in smoothly, this time I'm using the nib of my pen, and I'm going to be using lots of small dots to create a sense of shade. So I'm going to be using my 0.8mm first, it's my thickest pen, and remembering where I had my shading last time, I'm going to, instead of going like this, I'm literally just poking my pen down where I want it to look shaded. And what happens is our eyes are tricked eventually to joining all those dots together and seeing it as a shaded object. So this is used in painting. It's called pointillism in painting, and the pointillism style of paint used lots of different coloured dots in painting to create an effect. But when it's just used in black and white for illustration, it's just called stippling. So, like with our shading, around the darker side, as I said, I'm using my darker pen and I'm putting more dots, and they're going to be closer together. As I move away from that dark point to the lighter side, I'm going to change to pens that have smaller nibs, and I'm also going to have my dots further and further apart. So this week we've covered three-dimensional drawing with some shading and a little bit of shadow work. We've looked at different shapes, including the sphere, and we've shaded the sphere using pencil. And then for an extension activity, I encouraged some of you to try stippling. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope that you've really enjoyed your art session this time. Love to see what you've been doing, so please share your work. If you're from Mirren School, you can share your work through Seesaw, or you can email me. That is at belindacullenreid@mirren.school.nz. Or if you're an Art in a Bubble NZ person, you can share on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Art in a Bubble NZ, through Messenger, or you can email me at Belinda. No, I've got too many animals. Please don't have a fight on me. You can email me at artinabubblnz. No, that's not right either. artinabubblnz@gmail.com. I think somebody needs feeding, and probably, is it time for bed? Yeah, probably time for bed and something to eat. Hope you guys are all doing good. See you soon.